Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Boss. If you're an SME, a startup, you need to have your structure, your governance model, your policies and procedures, your HR structure, your business module in place for you to be able to achieve your business plan over the next 5 years. Without these, you will end up doing things on an ad hoc basis, randomly, and without a proper structure in place. It's difficult to achieve a business plan. So this is where Advantix come into play. And our guest this week is Muhammad Atique, the founder of Advantix. Atique, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure is all mine. This is a privilege to be on a platform where people express their journey and then their struggles and then the successes. So pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And let's start with your journey, your story, right from the beginning, like we always do on the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Let's tell us about your parents, your siblings. Where were you born? Your childhood memories.
Yeah, that's a kind of a strange story. I was born in a place where we don't stay, or we never lived, because my father was kind of deputed there. So that was only the period when I was born, and then he moved away from there. And then from there, he moved to Saudi. From Saudi, I think he did about 24, 25 years where we were brought up. So the basic education or the upbringing is all about Middle East, Saudi. And we have had everything or anything what you can think about. As when you're growing as a child, you experience all those minute details in the society. So you face all those. I mean, okay, we were, let's say, the foreigners there. And I'm talking about 30, 40 years, 50 years back, when things were not so tech savvy. There was very minimal, even telephones were not in that form of use what we have now. So it was very much, let's say, low or a basic living. We had education, probably the best education. We have had the best of the food quality. Even the outdoor foods, or let's say when we say dining out, was pure in the purest form. So no fusions, no mirch masalas of that sort and stuff. So health-wise, education-wise, living was the best of those times. And then, okay, I finished my higher secondary school, and we didn't have any education for the foreigners there. So we had to move back home. So for that, so it's like grade 12 beyond, you'll have to go back. So that's the higher education for you. For me, it happened so that something dropped on the way. There was a gap of 3-4 months between our final exams and the board results. It normally takes about 3 to 4 months for them to compile and all that. During that time, I was kind of invited in Sri Lanka. My cousin was deputed there in the National Airline. So he was there for about 3 years or so. And during those holidays, he told my father to send him across. And by the time results come out, we'll send him back. Now, I reached Colombo in the peak of the curfew times. I woke up in the morning in a totally different environment. Their food style, different. The living, totally different. I had never experienced that. And the atmosphere itself, and it's a tropical country, so you don't know when it rains. You don't know when it's dry. You don't know when it's humid. And so it was kind of exciting as well. I went there for vacation. 3-4 days, I meet somebody in his house. Guests come over, and they had a son of my age who was already studying there. So I was introduced to him as a courtesy. He said, okay, I'll take you tomorrow, take around a few places, and I'll take you in the town. He came the next day, and on the way he said, I have to just kind of drop to the university, pick up something, and then we'll move on. Fine. Cut the story short. I was sitting there in their community hall. There was this exam going on, like kind of prerequisite exam for the new admissions, which I had no idea what it was about. I'm sitting there, suddenly people start coming in, students sitting, and then somebody comes in, he starts over the sheet, hands over the sheets. They got the sheets, they start writing the name, they asked me to write the name, I wrote my name.
Oh, they gave you also the paper, they thought you were also for the exam.
As I said, it comes on your way, it is thrown on your way without any anticipation. So I get the answer sheets first, blank sheets, write your name. Then we get the questions. Now, those questions are basic questions for English and math. Now, imagine I have done grade 12. So our, let's say, Indian or Pakistani standard grade 12 is like A-levels. Now, they were testing the students who had passed out O-levels only. So that means I have done definitely better than, or I know better than them.
Yeah.
I gave the exam. It came in and I was like, okay, in fun, honestly, without acknowledging or knowing what's happening, I just started doing it. So there were two sheets, one for English, one for math. I finished it. I kind of did it in about maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. And I'm waiting. So this guy comes and he signals me, let's go. I went out with him. I haven't filled out the application form. I haven't registered for any of the tests, what was happening. Nobody knows me, and I don't know anybody there. 2 days, he gives a call to my cousin that they are calling him. For what? They want him to get admitted or join the college.
Join the university, yeah.
And my cousin came home in the evening. He says, good. Congratulations, you have been admitted. I said, you're crazy. I mean, this is, it's not sensible. Anyhow, so he said, just go and see what happens and talk to them and don't let them, give the details and all. So it happened so that, okay, I went with the same guy, see what are the requirements, application, this, blah, blah, blah. The director of the institute, he said, don't worry about anything. Just this is what the formality, take the form back, get it signed from, if your parents are not here, get it signed from your guardian, join now, submit the fees after 2 weeks. The thing worked out. Why? Because it was a semester system. And remember that we had 3 to 4 months gap between the results. So the agreement was between me and my parents, or the cousin was, you are anyway here for 2-3 months. So just do it for fun. Don't take the full load. Take about 3 subjects. The full load was 5 subjects. Take about 3 casual subjects. And see, by the time the result comes, you will not waste your time. You'll learn something and all. And then you can go back to the university wherever you go. And 3 months later, that's it. I continued.
Wow.
I continued for 3 years, 3.5 years almost.
What kind of course was that?
I did that business information systems.
Business information systems.
In those days, it was called the computer information systems. And it was actually offered in very limited institutions those days. I'm talking about 89, 90. The good thing was that it was a semester system and it was American affiliated. So from there, the education continued. I finished my higher diploma, then came back home, finished my bachelor's. I graduated in 97. So in 96, September, October, one of my uncles who had set up the business here, and he wanted to sort of install, let's say, computer networks, or let's say in his workshop, systems where he can record data. So stores, workshop, office, back office, accounting and all that. So he needed to basically get the equipments, install them, and then because he had started only about, I think, 6 months before, so he would like, okay, come, we are having this GITEX, tell us, guide us like what to buy, how much, which equipment to buy and install and software and all that, so that we can start. So it's like kind of asking me to help them in their
setup
as a industry specialist or a professional. Of course, I was just graduating as a bachelor. So that's why I came. I came for 3 days.
Okay.
I stayed 12 days. That trip, it was initially 3 days because I had school going on. So I took about 3 days off, but it continued to 12 days. So by the time I finished, I had already made up my mind that if I have to work or I have to do anything, I have to come back to Dubai.
Yeah, you like the place.
So, of course,
Yeah.
the most up-to-date city, let's say at that time, for tech, for business development, for exposure, international market. What I saw in GITEX was like kind of a boom, you know. So that kind of gave me that spark, or give me the inspiration that okay, yes, this is the place where you would definitely want to have a place where you have opportunities to grow.
Absolutely.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And considering our conditions back home, this place is heaven. Professionally. So that way, what happened was I went back, completed 97, and then I came back for 3 months. Once I finished, graduated and all, to test the waters and apply even. Okay, I applied jobs. I looked into opportunities or possibilities of opening up an outlet or something, and did some exploration. And it was a good experience. By the time I left, I already had an offer. But it happened so that the day because I didn't have a permanent number, so I had my uncle's mobile number on my applications. The day I took off from here, he gets a call.
Okay.
Where is this person? He said, he just left today. Okay, when is he coming back? And they mentioned, okay, he just went back, so we don't know. But they took the details and all, and then they forwarded, they gave me an email and all. So that company sent me an email. And then they said, okay, no Zoom calls at that time.
Yeah.
So it's only on the phone call. So we agreed on a time. We got a call. We discussed and said, okay, fine. What we need is your degree to be attested. That was the first year when the UAE government had asked the professionals to get their degrees attested.
Attested from both sides.
For both sides, yeah. And then foreign affairs and all.
Yeah.
Because it was a new thing, nobody knew anything back home. So I had to go through a complete cycle from the university to the Ministry of Education to the Higher Education Committee to
Foreign Ministry
back to the all that, and then it took about, I think, good 7-8 months.
Oh, and they were okay with waiting for you, the company.
What happened was their requirement was this. So we had a constant kind of communication that this is happening and this like kind of delays and all those things.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, once you're done, then you let us know. When I got done, I came automatically on my own, without even sort of telling them. When I came here, then I contacted them. So I have the degree. This is attested. This is the version. Blah 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 for you. All right. So for them, it was fine. Since we had approached, we are opening up in Qatar.
Okay.
We have a sister concern in Qatar. Would you like to move to Qatar? I was like kind of, okay, no, not at this time. Because I had already made up, number one, my mind. Number two, I had a kind of a comfort zone here. Qatar at that time was still very restrictive. There were no opportunities for you to start up your own business like you could do in Dubai.
In Dubai, yeah.
Dubai is very easy. Get your license from the DED, open up your office, or that's it. And then you start working. So anyway, the idea was for me to be kind of free from restrictions. And I have had that nature. I work with rationale. I don't work with authority. So what happened was it moved on, and in 1998, finally I arrived, and then I got a job immediately. Okay. I found a job.
At this time, did you have that in mind that you want to start your own business one day? You always had that in mind.
I always had that. If I'm allowed to use that word, it's called bug. a kida kind of a thing. So I had that in my mind that there will be a time. Okay, when I accepted the job, it was not that I am doing it for the sake of doing the job. No, I knew that to come to a stage where I'm able to do something on my own, I need to have, number one, the experience. Number two, the funds, probably, the finances. So when I finally jumped into entrepreneurial side in 2019, I had managed enough so that I could kickstart.
Take the risk, yeah.
Unfortunately, I did not calculate COVID in that. Nobody did.
Nobody did.
Yeah. So that's where the challenges came.
Yeah.
Now, before that, I was fine. So because I had my progression in my career for when it comes to experience, when it comes to education or even vocation, where you learn your industry specializations. Like, for example, general basic trainings and all, yes. But then I did a specialized course for certified process professionals. That is something which I did, and it was pretty expensive. I did it for the career purposes. And then I actually had done the EFQM trainers certification.
What's EFQM?
EFQM stands for European Foundation for Quality Management.
Okay. And
that certification for a trainer is not for everyone. You can do trainings for assessment, you can do trainings for as a trainer, but certified trainer for their model is pretty expensive, and that is under the license of their partners. So not everybody gets that opportunity. So alhamdulillah, actually that also came along my way when I shifted from my corporate career to the entrepreneurial career. Okay. Then it came along the way, and then from there I took another guide, like let's say direction.
Yeah.
So this is all based on my passion and that kida I had to be independent and to be able to make a difference somewhere. And when you say to be able to make a difference is whatever you do, you have to do it in a way so that it benefits you and somebody else. I just heard recently, everybody knows Tendulkar. He said, I never practiced in my life for time. That 30 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours. No. I practiced until I understood or I was satisfied that yes, I have made a difference today from yesterday. To upskill, no?
Yeah. Don't stop until you reach that achievement.
That only happens when you have... I'm not comparing myself to him. Of course, he's a legend. But these are the learnings for us. These are the people who set motivations, who set inspiration for others to follow. And he has reached that stage simply not just by skill. No. There is hard work, dedication, and consistency. Denzel Washington, do you know him?
Yeah.
He has, he stated actually when he won an award, he says, you will never start without commitment and you will never finish without consistency.
Wow.
That's an inspiration for me.
Yeah.
You will never start without commitment.
Yeah.
You will never finish without consistency. It's never easy. If it was easy,
many would have done it anyways.
There wouldn't be people like Tendulkar or Denzel Washington or others.
Yeah. So I think I want to go one step back to your career part. Like for those years when you were working in the corporate world, what kind of industry and what kind of job was that?
I started with being the IT administrator, the network administrator, managing connections, troubleshooting, and all that. So for about 6 months, that's what I did when I came. And similar I have done back home also when I was trying to apply for this process of degree attestation and all that. I was working along the same lines. But when I came here, I got the first opportunity in that. And then from there, I got an opportunity to develop documentation for ISO management systems. I developed certain documentation for a company who was into certifications and consultancy at the same time. And because of the language. So my language, English, was, and they were sort of developing them in English and Arabic. So I happened to be part of that organization who was developing it. And I was one of the team members who would review. There I learned all those technical things. It gave me an exposure to the construction industry for the very first time, and getting to know the details, because inspection sheets have all those criterias listed to be inspected while they perform the activities. And then after performing the activities, they have to inspect them, whether they are as per the requirements, criteria, specifications, and all. So going through those checklists, working around them, I got the exposure of that. And it happened so once I actually left that organization after about a year, I got into a local manufacturing. They were basically developing export. They were developing materials or equipments which they would export. I was there about 3 years. From there, I picked up a company, a Malaysian company. Now, that Malaysian company came here to set up their office in the regions. And I was hired to take the sales and the compliance part for the region. But that company didn't sort of continue beyond 6 months. So from there, when they discontinued, I went into a consulting company. Very small consulting company, 2-3 people there. And back into that process, ISOs and all. There I developed systems. There I worked in biomedical. There I worked with an education institution. There I worked with construction. There I worked with a real estate company. And then we had this company in Abu Dhabi who was dealing with electrical equipments. From there, I think I learned how to develop systems and understood a bit of process management. I worked about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Then I was picked up by a local group. And that local group had a subsidiary in electromechanical. So 3 years which I worked, I actually had the exposure of international benchmarks. The construction industry at that time was developing their safety standards as well. So I had the opportunity to develop those safety norms, basic procedures, safety manuals, safety instructions, and all that I learned from there. And that gave me the experience in developing the health and safety management system. While being there, I was offered a job in one of the international brands for elevators and escalators. So proud to name them Kone. It's one of the top 3 brands in the world. So I was picked up as quality officer, and then later on I was like quality and safety officer. Then the changes in the organization, quality was separated. Safety went to the HR, quality went to the marketing. Primarily it concerns the marketing. So I was into the marketing head. Then from there I went into the business development size. I grew in that organization. I think this is the only organization I worked 6 years.
Okay.
So I grew in that organization from that officer to a place where I would reach to the managerial level, and I would had 3 departments. It was processes, management systems, and there was a term called DSP, which is demand supply balancing. So this time of my professional life was where I excelled in process management. Globally, there are certain norms which are followed. Locally, there are different norms which are followed in the industry. My job was to, first of all, align the processes. Management systems, they had certifications because I had the background from ISO and all. So I would manage all their certifications, their external audits, internal audits. That was under me. So these 6 years gave me the exposure to getting into the process management deeply, setting criterias, putting matrices to measure the performance. Once you have measured the performance, you will have to then do the analysis and see what is needed, where it is needed, and what can be done. Just before I left, they deployed this SAP. So SAP was all putting your activities and processes in the system so that it can give you the live or as on date, as on minute, by the way, standing. At that point, I learned how technology can help you forecast, and be more accurate rather than being assuming or assumptions, all that. So, and process is all about that. When you're designing a process, you are anticipating what ifs. You are anticipating what if nots. And process always has an end before you start. Entrepreneurship is also similar. You should know what your vision is before you start. You cannot develop that over the period. You can develop your skill. You can develop or upgrade a plan, but then you cannot develop your end after starting. During this last episode of my professional career, there the Kida actually began. Because when I started working on processes, I realized and I understood from different vendors, suppliers, those guys need the system. They need a structure. So for any organization to be successful in customer excellence, you have to have your complete supply chain or the process in most accurate manner. And that is when you have a structure. When you have that system in place which keeps things on its toes, probably. So this is where that thing kind of ignited again. And I had developed something back home, informally. I basically designed the logo and everything. And that name was Icon. Initially, the idea was to develop organizations by learning, trainings or workshops. And it was not about consultancy. It was not about advisory. It was not about system development. It was just to basically train around. And I did a little bit of work, but it was while I was doing my professional career, I was doing. And I did a little bit of training here also on the weekends. This is where I got connected with one of the persons who was working as a subcontract, a trainer for LRQA, John Mercer. Very nice guy. I mean, I learned from him. I have learned quite a lot of business ethics, principles, and values from him. The other person I could remember is my boss, marketing head in Kone. You wouldn't believe those type of leaders you don't find normally. That person was so self-reliant, or he wouldn't let you do anything which is not for you to do. This is where I learned the norms. I learned the business ethics and professionalism. When I was in Kone, I had this Kira thing. 2012 probably, 2011, 2012. I started that Icon. Icon was not registered, but then formalized in my own way. I had the logo and then stuff like that. I did develop the website as well. And then 2013, 14 down the line, I decided to quit. There is a stage sometimes in your career that you don't enjoy doing what you're doing. The offer was on the table. If somebody wants, fine. Otherwise, we'll close it out and all. Since the offer was there, I picked it up. I said, fine, I don't mind. Outsourcing is a solution these days, which everybody is applying. Reason being, because it's cost effective and you can do what you need to do for your business.